Hello and welcome. Andy from Twisted Narrative here, and we're about to descend into part two of this assignment, yet to be titled. The first part of the assignment is currently up on YouTube, Candela Obscura, the painting. So if you do want to find out what has happened previously, check that one out first. In the meantime, let us introduce our players and the characters they will be playing tonight. First and foremost, Liz unfortunately cannot make it. She plays Synphonie, and I hope your household recovers from the lurgy that it has got at the moment very soon, and I'm sure you'll be watching this to keep tabs on what your fellow protagonists have been up to this session. So we miss you, Liz. Get safe soon. So without further ado, we'll move to you, Jocelyn, first.
My name is Jocelyn, and I will spare you everything because hopefully you will have watched the first half of this. If not, go do it. I am playing Eva, the Arranger Cartwright. She is about 35 years old, brown hair wrapped up in a twist, nice long maroon dress with white shirt underneath. But by nice, it's not fancy nice. It's sort of just barely nice. A couple seasons ago, she doesn't draw a lot of attention to herself, but she can if she needs to.
Lovely. Welcome back. Things are about to get serious. And we talk to Matt next.
Hello, I'm Matt. I am playing Alberic Greenheart, who is very much a fish out of water, who has found himself following some strange threads for his own reasons, and ended up in the right or the wrong place at exactly the right time, depending on how you think of it, and is very much following along and trying to help whilst not really understanding what's going on.
Perfect. Last but not least, we move across to Natascha.
Hello, I'm Natascha, as usual, playing from the Netherlands. My character is Mary McLaughlin. She's the muscle of the party, and she's got wavy brown hair to her shoulders and wears sturdy tanned leather. She's also the getaway driver for this episode. She arranged the carriage and horses that got us to where we are.
Perfect. And we'll do a quick recap for those of you who haven't watched the painting in a moment. But first of all, a content warning. This is a horror-based game which contains mature themes, including but not limited to body horror, graphic violence, blood, death, power imbalances, sexual themes, social injustice. Please watch at your own discretion, and remember to take a break from watching if need be. We use a system of lines and veils for our players for safety features. Now, tonight's session might not include any of those, but it is a horror-based game and it is only fair to warn you of such. We want you to enjoy this as much as we enjoy playing it, and this is a place of safety. So, a recap. This is Candela Obscura, and we are using the setting of New Fair, the Fairlands, and our protagonist, our circle of investigators, are seeking answers, as are all investigators for Candela Obscura, but it has led them to lean hard into mysteries that they just do not have access to information to. And this has led them into the waiting arms of an organization simply known as ABC. An organization that is nefarious, but can provide answers. Those who are made an offer by ABC, the Alphabet Club, cannot refuse, cannot fail. For some reason, they have taken an interest in this circle and and tasked them with a heist. Curious to most circle members, for they do not travel in those circles, not all of them anyway. The heist is a painting held by a disgraced nobleman by the name of Lazarus Saxon. So much disgrace that he doesn't stay within the city limits anymore, but has a small estate on the outskirts of it instead, 3-4 miles in the direction of Tottergrass. It is also what passes for Christmas. The snow is coming down quite heavy now. It would be substantially worse outside of these fair lands. The shiver all but gone. Snow a reminder of those harsher times. It seems though that the more our investigators looked into this Lazarus Saxon, the more distasteful and disturbing things became. And now they have arrived firmly outside his estate on what would be the equivalent of Christmas Eve night. But it is not what they expected. The gates padlocked, locked from the inside. No lights at all on in the house, and a warning sign, keep out, no carolers. Of course, this does not deter our protagonists, for and tasked by the ABC, they realise they have little choice but to follow through what they were given. Picking the lock of the padlock but making a degree of noise, the gates ominously swung open. It is at this point narrative that Synphonie has an attack of the vapours, passing out, hearing some kind of ethereal voice in her head, Mary catching her, putting her safely in the carriage. We are now no longer 4 but 3 as we begin this tale of Candela Obscura. So cast, it is cold, it is snowing, you have access to the manse grounds. What would you like to do?
First, I would like to take the horse out of the stable and tie it
Okay.
to the back of the carriage, because we already established that the manse is not a safe place, not a good place to be for horses.
Okay, so as you approach the horse, it is not necessarily as simple as that. You are a skilled wagoneer. This is what you do day in, day out, and you instantly, without having to make any rolls, you can see there's a degree of froth around the horse's mouth, and the eyes are white with fear. It is definitely unsettled, and you can also see, peering in, that the food hasn't been refilled and the stables have not been mucked out for a good number of days. If you want to approach this horse and not have it rear up, you're going to have to, well, take some kind of care.
Yeah, I know the old trick of throwing a blanket over the horse's head. That will make it stop rearing up and will just follow me. If there's any food in the stable that I can easily get, I will fill like a haversack and throw it on as soon as we get back to the carriage, so the horse can have something to eat.
Okay, this is going to take you a little bit of time as you search, and yes, there is food stored in the ancillary room to the stable, but it just looks like the horse hasn't been fed. You rapidly fill it up, and using the old animal handling tricks, something that, as I say, this is what you do for a job. It seems wrong to make you roll for something that you are so familiar with. You calm the horse down using your old horse whispering techniques, and you lead it out. As it passes the threshold of the manse, it seems to calm down substantially. But you look at the horse and it is malnourished. It is showing signs of not being groomed, cared for a good number of days. Not necessarily weeks or months, but yeah, neglected. You fasten it off, put an appropriate amount of feed into the bag, and it begins to eat, calmed down now outside of the manse.
I rejoin the two people that are probably still at the gate.
Okay.
Sorry, very unprofessional. As we left off last time, I had just picked the lock, but very, very loudly. It was unfortunate and not what Eva usually does, but it was quite a loud chunk. And so she looks over at Albrecht and puts a hand up in case he has any ideas about, being the man of the group and being brave. And she just sits, watches what's going on with the horse, watches what Mary's doing, watches very carefully to see if there's anything going on in the manse, if there are any lights coming on, if she can hear anything, and would like at that point, once Mary comes out, and it's obvious that the horse immediately calms down, which confirms what Sin had said about there being so much bleed in the manse. I would like to have, since I've had time to observe the manse, I'd like to spend a cunning by asking the question. Well, she's already got a plan, but by asking the question, which door or window would be appropriate to knock on to have the best chance of gaining entry?
I mean, that
Knock.
is a strange question. I mean, simply put, the front door is the best door to knock on to gain entry. It is the most appropriate door. There's even a bell pull to do that. If the question is to gain entry without being seen, then that is a completely different question.
All right. So before asking
I'm not
you
trying
this
to be
question,
tricksy. I'm just trying to establish
no,
what you're trying to actually
absolutely.
achieve.
So I'm going to lean over to Albrecht and Mary and say, my thought is, if we try to confront Lazarus Saxon, he will be nothing but horrible and probably the source or the conduit of the bleed. My thinking is, Mary, you did such a good job with this broken wheel that I could combine that with my knowledge of so many people in the city of New Fair and say that we know someone who knows Virginia McFadden, and we were so happy to realize that we had broken down near her home and try to speak to her, and gain entry to her. So perhaps she is on a ground floor room, where a tap on the window would gain her attention and not someone else's, possibly, or she would be in the kitchen and would answer the back door.
I think since reading of the manse completely threw off our original plan, um, since the entire house is now full of bleed, and there's this mysterious telepathic voice that talked to Sin just before she passed out, I think we try and get entry as quickly as possible. The painting is probably on the ground floor. If I would suggest, if the front door is locked and we can't open it, then we try the kitchen door, basically the servants' entrance, and try and gain access to the living room or drawing room where the painting is probably. and hopefully we'll find Virginia on the way there.
So can I spend my cunning to ask the question, or should we just chat about it and that's not the way that it'll go?
Well, I mean, if you want to move around the house, you can see if there's any lights on. At the moment, it's completely pitch black. If she is the housekeeper, then perhaps the back of the house might be better if you're trying to get her attention. Maybe there are some lights on at the back of the house, but you would have to go around and have a look.
So what do you think, Albrecht, about going for Virginia rather than Lazarus?
Feel like that might be the right move. I also think there's probably validity in checking the kitchen entrance first, if that feels like where she's more likely to be, potentially. We could, now that we have a way in, or at least the gate is open, we could do a circuit, and I'm not wishing to sort of blow my own what's it, but relatively good at spotting things, so I'm happy to have why don't we have a circuit of the house and see if we notice anywhere that looks opportune, and then at the same time seek out the kitchen door.
Excellent. All right.
That being the case, I would propose to make a focus roll to see if I can either focus or survey, if you prefer, to basically, as we're kind of skirting around the house, trying to spot any lights and signs of life, but also, any conveniently open windows in this bitterly cold weather. Things like that.
Chances are scant. The first thing that you don't need to roll for is light. I mean, you don't have to make a challenging roll to see whether you successfully see whether there's a light on in this house, and neither the front ground floor or upper floor, or even there is this small tower that rises to a third floor as well. None of those have any lights on, and as you move round to the back of the house, none of those have any lights on either. It's almost as if the house is unoccupied. Many of the drapes or shutters are closed as well. This is unusual. I mean, this is Christmas Eve. If there was someone here, this is a time of jollity, of celebration, of gathering around the piano and singing carols, of passing presents and eating sweet treats. This is just wrong. I mean, all of you would think they are probably locked up and probably headed somewhere else. I mean, maybe that's the answer, but there is this nagging doubt. The way the padlock was locked the other way round. The sign saying keep out. Possibly tricks to make nefarious rogues think twice about trying to break in. I mean, I will allow you to make a roll to see if you can see anything beyond that, anything that is perhaps hidden that you haven't picked up upon. But even moving around the property, you don't hear any movements. Your feet crunch in the snow. The snow still coming down, covering your footprints up quite rapidly.
Shall we just try
Mary
the
is.
door?
Go ahead.
Shall we just try the door?
Yeah, Mary's brought her coachman's lamp, by the way. So it's in her left hand, and her right one is getting ready to get her club out of the scabbard on her back. And if it's okay with you guys, she will. I assume that there's a couple of steps leading up to the front door or to the kitchen door, either way.
Yep.
Or is the kitchen in the basement, so it goes down?
No. You kind of look round and you can sort of try and peer through. The kitchen seems to be at the back of the house. There are windows all the way around, both at the front and the back and at the sides of the house. This is a nice property, although it is at the moment Gothic, standing starkly black amongst the white snow coming down. And you have heard disturbing tales of this individual. You have witnessed Synphonie have an attack of the vapours and faint. Your nerves are perhaps a little on edge, and what would be a magnificent property is, perhaps in one word, foreboding now. But there is 2 doors, unless you want to try and jimmy a window, the front door and the back door.
I hold up my lockpick tools again.
Well, let's see if it's open first, and Mary tries to open the kitchen door.
No, it is locked.
Mary makes room for Eva.
Good thought to try.
Mhm.
Yeah, simplest things will escape me sometimes. Yeah, and I'd like to use sleight of hand to try to pick the lock.
Okay, so this is it's not.
Hide.
Yeah, it's a hide roll that comes under sleight of hand. Sorry, I'm trying to use the correct terminologies for people that are following, um, following the rule set. Everybody's learning these new rules, so we'll break it down for people that are watching. You want to pick the lock. Picking the lock is going to be using some of your burglary equipment, some of the gear that you have chosen already, and the actual skill that you're choosing is hide, which sounds unusual, but hide comes under cunning, and hide covers an array of different abilities such as sneak, distract, and sleight of hand. So perfect. As a slink, which is kind of the rogues of the setting, you have 2 dice in hide, plus one of the special dice, which are called the
Gilded.
gilded dice. Now, are you adding any extra dice to this?
No, I've just got my 1 regular and my 1 gilded. I think I'm going to save my extras for when we start
Okay.
seeing beasties.
Is anybody going to donate any extra cunning to
I
this?
got one to donate if you want.
Great, sure. Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got 3 dice, including the gilded dice. Okay, interesting. So this is good. The rainbow dice that Eva has rolled is the gilded dice. It's a special dice, and if you choose that dice score, then it will refresh one of your spent drives in cunning. One presumes you wish to choose that dice as it was the highest roll anyway. So a 4 and a 5 is a success, but with complications. 1 to 3 is a failure, and sometimes those failures can end up in resulting you gaining marks, and a 6 is a perfect success. If you manage to get 2 6s, it's a critical success. So you pick the lock of this door, and we'll come on to the complication later, i.e. you're not aware of the thing that has become more complex, but the door is now unlocked, capable of being opened.
I will enter first with my lamp.
So the first thing you notice with the lamp is this doesn't actually go into the kitchen. It's not quite the entry into the kitchen. There is a door immediately to your left, and one presumes that actually does go into the kitchen. This is a hallway that leads into the open space, the actual proper hall, where the stairs perhaps rise up to the upper floor. And with the lantern shining, which one assumes you are using, you can see directly facing you at the front door. So it kind of it's like a corridor that comes across, and in the middle of which is an opening, and it is all set up for Christmas. First and foremost, the thing you notice immediately is the house is cold, very cold. Seems that there has been no heat in this property for a good number of days. It's just got that chill to it. Secondly, as I said, the house has been decorated for this festival of winter. Bunting, colourful, glinting in your lantern. A tree, a magnificent tree, spanning not just the ground floor but rising up to the upper floor where this hall widens out, decorated with baubles sparkling in your light, candles, presents underneath it. But of course, an additional grisly sign, tangled amongst the boughs of this large tree, entangled and dangling like a twisted, broken marionette, hooked up amongst all of the Christmas lights. You see a body, a corpse. You bring your light up, and from the information you have, this is Lazarus Saxon.
I poke him with my club to make sure that he's actually dead.
Okay. As you poke him, the thin wires wrapped around him from the lights, as he sways, there is a pinging as the holdings and fastenings on him begin to give, as he begins to fall, as the tree begins to fall, as there is a large crashing. I would like you to give me a move out of the way roll very rapidly, please.
Yeah, so that would be dodge. I have 2 dice on that.
Yeah. Do you want to spend any? This is a dangerous one. If you get clubbed with the tree, you will take a mark to your body.
Yeah, I'll add an extra die.
Okay. And it's kind of strange. You weren't being particularly violent with this. It just seems that you prodded him in the most unfortunate way, unluckily. A 6.
6.
Very good. Your sharp reflexes, though, and perhaps a degree of caution, you manage to move backwards rapidly. Of course, this does nothing to stop the large amount of noise that echoes through these silent halls.
Mary, in normal speaking voice, no, not bothering to whisper anymore. Well, I think they'll know we're here now.
Well, they probably already did. I did a pretty bad job of being quiet myself. Albrecht, is there? Albrecht, I'm so sorry. I keep trying to call you Albrecht.
Not a problem. Yes.
I wonder if there's any particular chemical residue or odor that you can detect that might have something to do with how strange this setup is.
Certainly try. Yes, let me have a look if he's dead, and we have a moment. And I will cautiously approach the tree. Is the body now covered under the tree, or is it?
Yeah, kind of. You can see the upper shoulder and the head, the eyes wide open, the jaw somewhat distended, and a tongue swollen, kind of looking out. What is interesting is the tongue seems to be charred, as do the hands somewhat.
Oh, fun.
Mary is wearing gloves. If you want, she can drag him out a bit for you.
That would probably be easier if that's okay.
Okay, it's a complete tangle. It's not impossible to do, and certainly, first and foremost, Mary, you have to unwrap many of these sort of lights that have twisted round his neck, and there are big welts around his neck. Um, it looks like he probably died from strangulation, but it doesn't explain the charring. But you untangle him, move him out of the way. There's a clatter of the odd bauble that pops from the tree, lands and sort of rolls away. You made so much noise, but again, nothing. Um, you pull him across to Ulbrich.
I mean, I would move close enough that he wouldn't need to be moved very far,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it would only so we've already established, because I made a sleeping draft, that I have my lab equipment with me in the little doctor's baggy type thing. I would like to take a moment to try with some of the chemicals and powders and things and the reactive agents I've got to see if I can glean any indication of what might have caused the burning and the singeing.
Yep. You will need to
So
give me sort of a sciencey role now.
I
Like I
was
said, I actually want to try and give the viewers sciencey is not a skill in Candela Obscura, but
Analyze and focus.
analyze or focus is, and I think that is appropriate.
yeah, I would have said was going to say focus because that's inspect.
hmm Just remind us the type of character archetype you are playing.
I am a scholar.
Very nice.
Yes, and from a character and sort of backstory perspective, I am a chemist, or at least I'm becoming a chemist.
hmm
And I have a gilded eye in focus. So I'm going to use 2 of those. So I've got 2 points in focus, and one of which is gilded.
Okay.
Hang on to your butts.
Other than lighting the corpse for you, Mary can't do anything else to help you.
This is
No,
fine. This
that's
is a
fine.
4. This is a success with complications. Yeah, I mean, it's not that mysterious, really, or maybe it is. Uh, Death by strangulation and electrocution. You think that, I mean, electricity is a thing now. One of the turning points of the Great War was the creation of these electric devices. It's fairly new, but some of the individuals who have a degree of wealth have been investigating in electrical lighting and the like, and these were probably one of the very first sets of electrical lights designed to decorate a tree. You are aware that in some of the more wealthier districts of uh, the city, there are grand trees decorated with these electric lights. But it seems that he got himself tangled up in them, strangled by them, and then electrocuted by them, and electricity burns.
Mary will try and find a plug to those string of lights and pull it out of the wall socket.
hmm You sort of move across, following the tangle. And indeed, you haven't heard the sounds of a generator, and this property, if it was using this newfangled electricity, would have to have a generator powering this, and they make noise. They do make noise, even if it was deep in the cellar, and you can't hear any of that noise. So you feel fairly safe enough to pull out the pins. And as you examine the pins as you pull them out, they themselves look charred as well. as if there has been a huge flow and it's caused this to happen.
I show the plugs to Albrecht.
And while
well-
Mary's been doing this, I'm going to take a piece of the bunting and lean over towards Albrecht and say, "May I?" And
Yes, by all means.
hold the corpse's tongue, or what's left of it, and lift it to see if there's anything under his tongue.
Doesn't appear to be.
And so it's not charred like all the way down. It's just sort of
Yeah.
partway charred.
Yeah.
Okay. And nothing under the tongue. And then I'd like to have a look at how far down the charring goes on his hands.
It's just maybe his fingers and the like. Maybe when he was trying to grab some of these tree, or the trying to grab at what was round his throat, perhaps.
Okay. I would like to take out my bleed detector and say, well, I was hoping not to have to use this because Sin has just such an eloquence about how she puts things, but well, I have to rely on the mechanical. And I'd like to see if I can tell if the cord is like the main source of the bleed and we should be following the electricity, or if it's actually coming from somewhere else in the house.
Okay, you enact your bleed detector. So you get up to 3 of your items. That is one of them used now. You can use your bleed detector multiple times through the assignment. It's just you've chosen that as your first piece of equipment.
Second,
Sorry,
early equipment.
yeah, sorry, second. Thank
Keeping
you.
myself honest.
Yeah, no. Important gear. And the bleed that you detect is kind of all through this property, and it's kind of strange. There is nothing unnatural about the cables at all, but there is something unnatural about the death. You detect bleed going on about this, and you begin to follow it around, and I would like you to give you in particular to give me a focus roll, please, because you've got the bleed detector out. Whilst I'm asking you to make the roll, I'm more than happy for anybody else to donate to you, should you wish.
Yeah, I have 1 point in focus and no drive.
Same here, so can't help.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I've only got 1 drive in intuition left.
But
That's
then
my only
save it
reluctance.
for yourself. Don't worry about it.
So, I mean,
All right.
you're taking the action, which is good and totally understandable. I will say this is a critical one. You are looking into bleed, so failure will have repercussions. Okay, that is a 1. So it is strange. You begin to sort of follow it around, and as I say, this is the hallway, and with this once magnificent tree that has now toppled over, you kind of follow the trail around and up the stairs somewhat to the top of the landing, keeping in sight the light, of course, of the lantern and your companions. And it is there you see the broken banister. You begin to analyse that, and there is much bleed coming from it. You begin to sort of focus to analyse the situation, and the best you can come up with is, by chance, this railing seems to be solid. He must have fallen hard against the railing. The railing gave way by chance. He must have fallen onto the tree, grabbing the lights as he went down to save himself from falling. And in that moment, one in a million chance of chances, he got himself caught up in it and accidentally killed himself. Almost totally unbelievable of that happening, almost a nigh on impossibility, but that is what you believe actually happened. And because of you realizing that this is happening, you take one mark to your brain. As against all possibilities, this has happened. If this can happen, then it means anything could actually happen.
Eva
Mary,
really struggles with this because she knows what she has seen in the past. She knows what's happened in the past. She's worked more than once for Solomon. The fact that this could possibly have a quotidian sort of meaning to it just makes no sense to her. But she's forced to think that this is the case, and so she explains it that way.
It's kind of strange. You saw Mary just prod the corpse, and she managed to prod it in such a unusual way that caused the corpse and the tree to almost crush her. Again, shouldn't have really happened, but it did. Maybe this house is cursed or perhaps jinxed.
you hear Mary calling from below. Come down again. I think we need to check the kitchen first. First downstairs, then upstairs.
Okay, so in this moment of shock and of revelation and of investigation, of finding who you were coming to perhaps trick, con, coerce, or rob, is actually strung and dead from his own tree. It begins to sink in, but you see there are a number of doors. Quite obviously, the kitchen door next to the back door that you came through. There are a number of other doors as well. The front door. There are 4 more doors to the west, and a corridor with other doors leading to the east as well. But it sounds very much that the kitchen is your first point of call.
Yeah.
Is Virginia in there? I'm going to call down from the banister because I think I'm still sort of looking puzzled around, and I don't want to lose the height advantage.
Okay.
So I'm just going to be a little slow to arrive.
I don't know. Are you going to open the door and just stroll in? Is that what you're doing?
No,
Mary?
Mary definitely wants to call Eva down before we all 3 of us move towards the kitchen door.
Okay. Eva, you begin to come down. Well, I'm assuming, sorry, you are called. I can't say that you're coming down because it is your character. Mary, call Eva.
Eva, can you come down, please? I think it's safer if we are together when we check out the rooms.
Fine to agree.
If you're sure, this is just so strange. And I'll come down the stairs, but I'll keep sort of looking around me, just completely perplexed.
Okay, it is at that moment.
Mary will walk towards you and meet you halfway up, and then guide you further down, sort of hugging you.
It's a good job you do that, because the carpet, the runner that goes up the stairs, it doesn't seem like it has been totally fastened, and your foot on it, Eva, begins to move as you begin to topple forward. Can you give me a dodge roll, basically? This is nerve and a move roll.
Yeah. Okay. I think I will use one of my. No, I won't yet. I will just use the one.
Yeah, you used a lot of your things. Oh, another one. Okay. Things are getting worse for you as you
Let's get this
looking
game
around,
going.
looking down, and yeah, the carpet it hasn't been fastened properly, and you just catch your foot and you fall not far. I'm going to allow Mary a chance to catch you. If you don't, Mary, there will be repercussions. In terms of catching, what would you like to try and use for that?
I think it would be like a reverse dodge. So
Yeah,
I would like to
mo-
use move.
move sounds perfectly acceptable.
And I will add one of my drives. So it's 3 dice I'll be rolling, including a gilded one.
Nice. Oh,
Ooh,
oh dear.
bad.
So
I'm picking the 3 that's gilded though.
you can do that. I mean, mechanically, I hadn't even considered this, but technically speaking, yeah, at least you've got a drive back. Absolutely. And I'm going to let you two decide. One of you is going to take a mark to the body with this
That
fall.
would be me,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay, Mary.
Mary actually has I think, let me check. No, she doesn't. But she would. Oh yeah, behind me, spend 1 nerve to choose an ally in the same area who is about to take a mark. Describe what you do that allows you to take the mark instead.
Wow, that is a very nice skill. Yeah. Um, I was going to allow you to choose, but no, it fits perfectly with your archetype. So describe, how do you save Eva from tumbling down?
Because she's still carrying the lamp in one hand, so that's not allowed to fall because it's an oil lamp and that will just make matters worse. So she will catch Mary in her right arm and then twist around so her body hits the wall rail, and basically bruises her hip pretty bad, or her lower ribs, and make sure that her body is between the banister and Eva.
Very nice. Eva, you were caught
Oh,
just in time.
oh God, Mary, I'm never like this. I'm so sorry. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine as she limps down the remainder pair of steps.
Oh gosh. Let me make it up to you when we get back to town.
No,
Buy you a
it's
drink.
fine. That's what I'm here for, honestly.
You're very kind. All right. Yes, Alberic. Yes, kitchen, you say. And Mary, you say.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and we'll turn and move in that direction, feeling very unnerved by everything that's going on.
Yeah, you have to sort of clamber over the tree again. And I mean, have you just left Lazarus Saxon's uh, body just there at the moment in the hallway on the floor?
For the
I'll
time
close
being.
his eyes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can close his eyes, Eva, if you want. Okay, so you go back to the back door that you came through, and as you would enter to the left, there is the door to the kitchen. You open the door and have to shine the light in. None of the lights seem to be working. If there is a generator, it's not doing anything at the moment. Um, it takes a moment for your eyes to adjust to the area, and you begin to look around. It is not occupied. There is no one here.
Can I check the bleed detector?
Bleed is throughout this house. There is.
Does Are there any smells, or is there like the smell of food going bad, or anything like that?
Yeah.
That's
That is
unusual.
that is the first thing that you do. But it is concurrent with everything that you know so far. Horse not fed, but with the master of the house dead, it is no wonder that things just have not been done. Food is indeed spoiling, but there is something else, um, something that is on the edge of all of your senses. It's not a critical role, but you will get advantages for discovering it. I'm going to allow one of you to make a roll that can pick up on what this thing is, and I'm going to say it would be an inspect roll, so focus. I will allow you out of game to decide who wants to make that roll.
I got 1 dice on that.
I've got 2, and one of them is gilded, and I've also just realised I have a thing. So I'm well read, which means if I use intuition while making a roll, if I fail the roll, I get any intuition back that I used,
Wow, that
which
is
I assume that's a drive, isn't it? So if I use
yeah.
a drive point of intuition, yeah. So if I do it, if it fails, regardless of how horrible it all goes for us as a group, individually, I don't lose that drive. So that feels like, because I think,
It sounds good.
yeah,
I like to differentiate between a critical role and a non-critical role. This is the kind of role, if you fail it, you have missed a critical piece of information, and that is punishment enough.
yeah.
So yeah, it's up to you how much you want to roll here.
I will use my drive then, and I will roll. So 3 dice total, one of which is gilded.
I mean, that is crazy because I've just read that skill again. You are highly educated and retain knowledge better than most. When you use intuition while making a roll, if you fail a roll, you earn back any intuition you used, and you start off with 4 intuition. So that
Yeah,
technically means that you can pump your rolls.
All of the drive.
yeah.
Now, if you succeed, you don't get it
I
back.
lose it all.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that is the balancing point.
Yeah,
So, sorry.
that's the double blade.
Yeah, sorry, viewers. We're trying to deep dive into these rules here, and I really like that because at first I thought, oh, that's crazy broken because you're just gonna just max it out all of the time. But no, if you really want to do it, you take that chance, but you pay the penalty of losing it all when you succeed. I like it.
Yeah.
I'd say
See
just
how it goes.
3 dice should be enough.
Yeah, 3 dice I think will be fine. I've only got 1 drive
And you've
anyway,
been
so
rolling very badly tonight. I'm loving it.
great. Yeah, lovely, brilliant. Thanks for saying that just before I roll.
You're the only one, Elbrick, that has not taken a mark at the moment. That's a 4 though.
Well,
Not gilded, so you succeed.
means I lose that last drive.
Indeed. Interesting. So, yeah, the hint, the smell that is almost hidden by this odor of spoiling food is coffee. I mean, not particularly unusual, but your sharp eyes begin to cast round the dark kitchen, and you firstly see a series of 4 metal canisters up on one of the shelves, quite clearly labelled flour, sugar, tea, salt. But there's obvious a gap in the centre. The other thing is you can smell that coffee, but there isn't a canister with coffee in, and you cannot see a canister with coffee in, and you smell and you realize the smell is coming from the floor, not just from the floor, but there is line of brown grit along the base of where the door is. And as you go down there and smell, it's coffee grounds. Not spilt there in a splodge, but placed in a line across the threshold.
So,
And these are dry coffee grounds?
They're certainly dry now.
have they been disturbed by which way did the door open? Has that now disturbed this line of coffee?
Yeah, the door opens inward and it's kind of disturbed it a little bit. There's not necessarily a step, but you know the way that sometimes doors have just a little thing there. So you've not smeared it across the floor or anything. It's been a little bit disturbed.
Is it?
Oh, sorry.
Is the line broken or is it effectively still intact?
The line looks broken now, but you could shove it together again if you wanted to. I'm not sure why you would do that or why people have spilt coffee grounds or placed coffee grounds here.
I'd like to go reach for the salt canister to see if that's still got salt in it.
Yeah. You kind of shake it, look in it, salt in it.
Okay.
Does it? Where I am looking at the door, I'd like to kind of follow around. Does it cover anything else, anywhere else around the door? Is
Well,
the whole of the room marked with coffee or?
it's a standard sort of kitchen, but as a standard sort of kitchen, there are, including the one that you came through, 6 doors in this room. It is a room of doors. There's 3 in the southern wall and 2 across in the eastern wall. Of course, in the western wall, that is the door that you came through. 2 windows, obviously shuttered, and quite a large fireplace in the centre, not the centre of this room, but in the northern wall, in the centre of the northern wall. And part of that fireplace is quite obviously a stove, like an Arga.
Is this door with the coffee grounds going down to the cellar?
No, the door with the coffee grounds is the one that you just come through. But as you begin to look, all of the doors have lines of coffee grounds along.
And the fireplace hearth as well?
No, not within the fireplace. The fireplace is obviously cold, hasn't been lit in a good number of days.
So it's not some sort of worry about anything being able to get in or out. So
Of the house.
right. So some bleed that might be escaping through the chimney or coming in through the chimney, they're not worried. They're only worried about the doorways, which would lead you to think that it does have something to do with the people, like our poor deceased, depraved man out there. I'm more and more worried about Virginia.
Is the only disturbed coffee line the one on the door we came in?
Yeah.
So somebody put coffee down in this room on every single door, border every single door, and then disappeared.
Yes.
And there's no sign
Probably
of the
through
coffee
one of those
container,
other doors.
but the coffee is undisturbed. So how did they put the line down?
Because the doors that open inward, you can open the door, put it down, and then close the door.
Oh, some
Without
of them do
disturbing
open
the
that
coffee.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
It's easy enough done.
Fine.
Oh, rat.
Then
I thought we had a Walter murder mystery sort of thing.
Yeah.
Can I just go and quickly open the other 5 doors and see
You're
which
going
one
to
goes
open
first?
Not
open
all
all
at
5
once.
doors.
Not all
Hey!
at once. One by one, Eva.
Yes.
One by one. Let's start with the closest one.
Okay, the
I don't have
closest
5 hands. It's okay.
the closest one, sort of next to the door that you came through. This is where most of the rotting smell is coming from, and you open it, and It's a small pantry. Terrible, rotting, meaty smell that comes out. It's a little too cold for those meat flies to be buzzing around now. But yeah, terrible decay of food. It's kind of strange. There was a lot of food in here. It was perhaps even stocked ready for the celebrations. And so this pantry was kind of filled before whatever happened. You root around in there. It is a disgusting smell. There is nothing of any kind of real interest. I mean, feel free to delve deep in the slurry of rotting food should you wish to.
That's all right.
No, Mary quickly closes the door again.
Okay, the middle door in the southern wall, the one next to the pantry door, you open it up and it is a well-appointed dining room. You see there is a second door exiting this room on the southern wall of that. There is a nice polished table that is gathering a small layer of dust now. And there is also a silver service, but laid out for just one person.
Makes sense. Next door.
Yeah, the next door,
Yeah, Mary
is
closes this one again.
which is the third one along. You open it up, and it is a hallway leading south, obviously following the wall of the dining room. You can see midway down this hallway there is a door that would lead into a room that is on the eastern side of the house. There are two other doors left in this chamber, both in the eastern wall. Hope you're all following along at home, drawing a map of this manse.
Mary closes this door again and gets ready to inspect the next one.
Yep, absolutely. The next one leading up, so the southern door, the door on the southernmost eastern wall, for those of you who can understand that kind of language. You see that in here there are empty disused tubs with odd sediments in, sort of shelves with a number of pieces of linen on it, some kind of laundry room.
Door goes closed. Next one.
So the final door leads to a set of stairs going down to the cellar.
Mary starts going down.
Wow. Mary is not
Carefully.
wasting any time.
Mary?
Carefully.
We're looking for Virginia, and I have the idea that these coffee grounds were used to keep something from following her to where she is.
You may very well be right. I wonder though, all of this food that's gone off so badly makes me think that perhaps they were actually going to host a gathering, probably more for the painting than for any sort of jolly winter celebration. And there would then be records of that. There would be invitations, a guest list, and that might be upstairs. So I'm just very anxious to get upstairs now. So
Yeah, let's find Virginia first, and if necessary, we can put her out in the carriage before we do the inspection of the rest of the house.
she might still be upstairs.
But upstairs has already proven risky.
Definitely.
So I think for all that downstairs may be equally risky, we haven't had any proof of it yet. And we are here, and there was no sense of smell of coffee upstairs. So I think let's follow this. I think Mary's on the right track for the moment, and we can go back upstairs once I think as we're here, let's follow this this path for now, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that neither Mary nor Alberic knows Eva very well, but she's going to start worrying the handle of her handbag, and that's not something that anybody has ever really seen before, in many years.
So with the lantern and trying to move as carefully as you can, but let's face it, if the odds are 1 in a million from happening and they still happen, it doesn't really matter how careful you are. You begin to descend down into the darkness, and it has a musty smell, the smell simply of a cellar. You descend down a flight of stairs that then twists and descends down further. The stairs, wooden, creak ominously beneath your weight. There is a large chamber stretching the entirety of the house. A number of upright pillars positioned in the middle of this chamber, but there is a whole host of items down here, some covered with dust sheets, some just simply abandoned. The way that many households act with the things that they simply saving for later might be useful in some time, only to simply be forgotten about. You can, though, just make out that in the far end of the cellar in the northern wall is a door, and immediately south of the stairs a second door. But you would have to navigate through this labyrinth of jumble.
Can I
Mary
take out,
softly calls out, Virginia, and
and
she.
Eva takes out the bleed detector to see if any of these objects in particular is giving off a lot of bleed, and to see if anything is sort of shaped like a painting on an easel.
Okay, that sounds good. I would like you to give me another analyze roll, please.
Is that Mary to see if she hears Virginia, or me to see
This is
bleed?
you with the bleed detector.
Okay.
If you call out for someone and they are going to call out back, they would call out loud enough for you to hear. So this is a focus roll for you.
Okay. Well, come on, statistics.
Very good. So with repercussions again, but successful, you begin to tune your bleed detector. None of the items here within this chamber seem to be radiating any additional bleed to what you're also picking up. But the door to the far end of this chamber, there's something beyond that door that most definitely is radiating extreme bleed.
So I'm going to lean over and show the bleed detector to Mary and Alberic and point to the door.
Let's skip that one for now. Let's try and find Virginia first.
We
But
think
if the
the
bleed is,
painting is the source of the bleed.
she'd be in most danger from where there would be the most bleed. If she's in danger, we need to find her sooner rather than later.
Well, let's see what's through this one. And he points to the closer south door and take a decision. We know that there's something there to look at. Let's.
So you head to the door in the southern wall, which is not far, several feet from the bottom of the creaking stairs. cobwebs have begun to form here again in this cellar, and they tickle your face just gently as you move through the darkness, and it makes you twitch. The thought of perhaps spiders is not everybody's cup of tea. Things that lurk. You easily make it to the door. Um,
Are there more coffee grounds in front of the threshold?
Not that you can see here. Not that you can see.
I try and open the door.
It's a little sticky, but you manage to ring it open. And as you do, there is this tsunami of coal that just spills out of the door. No need to dodge out of the way. It is not endangering, but this room had been well stocked, ready for winter. It is full of coal. No doubt there is a coal hatch outside that they would have filled it up, hence it sort of filling up to the degree that it has done. It makes noise. Uh, I mean, you could spend time digging your way through the huge chunks of coal to see if anything was buried here. Uh, that is for you to decide.
If there's any long metal object, like a metal pole or a poker near here, I would try and stick it in the pile of coal, but I would not go digging through it.
Well, I would say let us see how lucky you are, but that's not going to help you here. So, in fact, we will say you look around for something that could be of any kind of use whatsoever, and I guess you've just been unlucky and can't see anything. There's a coal shovel, as I say, you could try and jig that in, but it's not precise or.
Do we look through the scary door?
Yes. The painting will have the most bleed, and Virginia will be in the most danger there. This is all I can think. I admit I'm not quite myself right now. This is by far the most bizarre situation I found myself in, but I just think we need to get through this door.
As we move through the basement, Mary is on the lookout for a carrying case that possibly can hold the painting without directly touching it.
I mean, there's no carrying cases down here. There are dust sheets. You could easily use one of those, though. Throw it over the painting, wrap it up. Um, I'll give you that one. I cannot
Yeah.
change my descriptions mid-game. Well, actually, I can, but I won't, out of fairness. I mean, so you gather some of these dust sheets, and as you pull one of them off, suddenly you see this face staring at you. It is horrible, twisted, malformed. Upon this body that is bloated and twisted, naked, in a strange position. Fortunately, it is some bizarre carving of sorts, but for a moment it takes you by surprise.
I'm going to reach for a dust cloth on something and turn my head away and pull it off so that I can have one in case I need to touch the painting of a sudden.
Okay. You pull it off. You both have dust sheets now. You
Right.
make your way through this labyrinthine tanglement of crates, boxes, bric-a-brac. One of you, I'll let you choose, catches yourself on a nail. It kind of rips and tears at your clothing. Who would that be?
I'm wearing
Probably
skirts.
me, I would say.
Oh, really?
Well, awkward and confused, and trying to carry a doctor's bag awkwardly through a cluttered cellar feels. Tear my coat. Damn it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it catches your clothing. You think something has got you or clawed at you. No damage, but it kind of tears. There's that really horrible ripping sound of cloth that you know that is expensive.
Good.
You did bring
Mary,
your...
who's in the front, stops at the sound, looks at Elbrick, sighs, and then starts moving forward again.
You're on
Mute.
Why?
You're not now.
Word?
You were. Or perhaps it
That's
just
right.
took your voice away from you for the moment.
Well, I mean, I said, sorry, I only have one coat.
You were
And a
told to.
fine coat it is, Alberic.
Okay. You eventually, I wouldn't say easily, shocked by this strange effigy ripping your clothes, dust now in the air. You arrive at the final door, and as you approach it, you realise from the angle you were at, you managed to sort of spot it relatively easy. As you sort of come round, you realise that there are a number of heavy crates that have been deliberately stacked in front of the door in an attempt not necessarily to obscure it, to hide it, but much more the intent to perhaps stop something getting in or maybe getting out.
Does the door open into the cellar or into the room beyond?
The door opens into this room here.
Well,
Well,
with Lazarus dead, Virginia can't have gone inside and put these crates in front of it.
good point.
True. Maybe.
So do you
Unless
still
he.
want to check out this room with all the bleed in it, or do we check out the rest of the house first?
Well,
I mean,
we
we can
need to
always just
know.
close the door again if we don't like what we see.
We
This
need
is
to
true.
know that we're getting the painting back by the middle of tomorrow afternoon. That's what we're hired for. But I'll just never forgive myself if we could have helped Virginia. And with the strange things going on, I somehow wouldn't be surprised if she could have gotten through that door somehow.
Okay. Mary starts lifting the crates out of the way.
They're heavy,
Well,
but you manage it. Sorry, Eva, are you going to say something?
no, just sort of gesturing that, take them
Yeah.
with her. Yeah.
It's not a job that requires any kind of skill or role. You work together, and it's very haphazard and makeshift. This was not done by anybody attempting to do a particularly good job. It was almost, you would guess, done in panic or in afterthought. You move them out of the way, and there is a cellar door, a door leading into, well, from this main cellar into somewhere else.
Is it metal or wood?
The door itself is wood, but it is banded. It's got kind of metal, quite large metal hinges within it. It has also got a lock upon it, and as you sort of rattle it, you realise it has actually physically been locked as well.
Is
I
it the
could,
kind of lock where it gets locked from either side or just from one side?
It could be locked from either side. It's got like a keyhole, so yeah, it's like one of those deadbolts.
Mary quickly has a grab around the top ledge of the doorway to see if there's a key on top of the ledge.
You get unlucky as you move your hand across there. Quite obviously a sensible thing to do, quite often left. You rip your fingers on a splinter.
I'm wearing leather gloves.
Yeah, they just rip into the gloves, but nothing up there.
I hold up my lockpicks again. Third time's the charm.
Yeah, but don't open it right away. Let me open it.
Okay,
I'm carrying the lamp after all.
good point.
And Mary also takes the club out of her scabbard.
And I'm going to use a drive. And I suggest, Alberic, you and I get ready to haul Mary back and restack these boxes real fast if we need to.
I can give you one more dice for your roll.
You sure? Cool.
Yep.
So I'm rolling 4.
Very nice. So you can choose the gilded dice if you want. A
I'll take
4
the
and a 5
gilded.
is the same, so repercussions here, but you do manage to unlock this door. The question is, what lies beyond?
Mary steps in the space where Eva was just before,
Mhm.
and looks at the other two shortly in turn, and with a little questioning look in her eyes, and then opens the door and holds the lantern inside the doorway.
Okay. And are you just partially opening and peeking in?
Yeah, basically with my shoulder against it so I can easily slam it shut.
Okay. So you peek around and it takes you a few moments to take in the scene. It's a half full cellar again, but this time rather than coal, wood, logs, mainly cut to be used on the fire, but there are some larger logs in there that have again been passed down from the outside, ready to be chopped. You notice that there is a woodman's axe in there as well, that is sort of embedded into one of the logs. You catch the glint of the head of the axe, but maybe you've finally struck lucky, for in the empty part of this cellar on an easel seems to be a painting. The painting, though, is covered completely with a dust sheet.
I'd like to come to the backside of the painting, or what I assume is the backside of
At
the
the moment,
painting.
the door is only partially open, with Mary looking
Okay.
around.
Okay,
I guess.
Mary.
What did Mary say?
Yeah, what did Mary describe do?
This seems to be the wood cellar, guys. I can see an easel with a painting and it's covered in a dust sheet. I don't think we should look at it. What's your bleed detector saying at the moment? And then
I'm
I
assuming
open the
it's
door wider so you can step inside. But I will be right at your shoulder and
You open the door wider, and yeah, the bleed detector, heavy bleed is coming from this easel, this painting, without doubt.
I'm going to assume, hopefully, and I will be very careful, that it's facing the right way. And I think I should look at the back and see if it's signed, and see if it's got the name written, the name of the painting written. What do you think?
If you're very careful. I'll be ready to pull you back anyway.
It's going to be
Albert?
awkward. There's not a lot of space in here. You would have to go into the cellar to manipulate the painting, but we can see what happens if that's what you're attempting to do.
Yeah.
Okay, Eva, you sort of go in, and I kind of imagine this is like Raiders of the Lost Ark at the moment, in the fact that you have your arms open and you kind of, is it the right way around? Isn't it the right way around? Do I look? Do I not? And you begin to sort of circle the painting somewhat, trying to work out your best approach to it. You think you get it. You think, yes, it should be facing forward. Also, it still seems to be framed, and underneath the way the dust covers are doing it, it's kind of little standing out a little more with like one of these gilded frames. So it does seem to make sense that round the back of the easel, lifting the dust sheet would just allow you to look at the back of it.
Okay.
If that's what you wish to do.
So the first
Mary
thing
puts her club back in the scabbard and uses her thick leather gloved hand to move the top bit of the painting away from the easel so Ava can more readily look at the back of it.
Okay, so to clarify, Mary, you've gone into the cellar. Eva, you've gone into the cellar, and around the back, you're kind of at the front. Mary, Ulrich.
Hold the door.
Yeah, I'm at the door, holding the door, ready to and basically trying to be there, but as out of the way as possible, because I know there's not much space in this chamber.
There might
So
be,
I'm kind of
yeah. Oh, that's good. There might be some spoilers here though, because we all know what happens to Holdor. But we will
I
see.
don't, but okay.
Are you about to find out, or are you? Something.
the first, oh,
Sorry, something
but the
begins
first
to.
thing
Yeah, the first thing.
uh,
The
the
first thing.
first thing that I want to do is actually not to look at it, but I want to just slide my hand in to feel the back of the canvas and to make sure that it is, the backwards way around that I'm looking at.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. As you position yourself, you take a breath and you begin to feel, and you think, yes, you think this is right. You've got this, and as you rely on Mary holding up the canvas a little bit, and you begin to peek, and as you rise, and unbelievably timed, something happens. Uh, whether it was some kind of vermin moving at the back between the logs, whether it just hasn't been stacked properly. One of the logs becomes loosened, uh, begins to fall out, but it seems it was instrumental, again by great chance, to be the supporting log for the rest of the logs stacked behind, as the whole thing begins to just tumble down upon both of you. To make matters worse, one of the logs hits the log with the axe in, causing the axe to spin outward, flying through the air. The two people in the chamber, can you give me dodge rolls, please?
I will use 3 dice.
Yeah. So one at a time. Let's do Mary first. Interestingly, if both of you manage to succeed on your dodge roll, Ulrich, you will have to make one as they manage to move out of the way.
How
That
how
is
did I succeed? I haven't rolled.
no. I'm just saying. A 5 is good. That
And
is
I get
gilded.
my drive back.
Absolutely. Your very, very good reflexes manage to make you react. Eva.
Eva, yes. All right, so I'm using one of my drive. Please, please. Oh,
Yeah, unfortunately. Moving
I
out of the
will
way.
I will use one nerve to drag Eva out of the way of harm and take whatever damage was coming to her.
Take the damage. Yeah, this is a
Although-
second mark of.
Right.
Sorry,
Are
Eva.
you sure? Because I can use a resistance to re-roll one of my
Yeah.
die.
You do have
Nice.
resistances if you wish. For those of you watching, resistances can be used to re-roll your dice pool.
Try that one first. If that doesn't work, I will drag you out of the way.
That
And
will be 2 marks to the body, Mary. I know it's what you do. By that I mean, Natascha, you seem to lose characters on our streams all of the time. Okay, it looks like you're taking another mark.
yeah,
It's a good job that you were wearing those leather gloves rather than losing several fingers from one of your hands. It just cuts deep, starts bleeding badly as you manage just to literally catch the axe as it's swinging towards Eva. The dust begins to settle. The painting has spilled over. The dust sheet removed from the painting, and unfortunately, with the 2 fails, you gaze upon the picture. It is a strange painting. You find it difficult first, almost as if you are suffering from some kind of migraine. Your mind can't understand it, especially with all of the dust and the wood splinters and a little bit of the blood from Mary, and the lack of light in here. But given a few moments, you realize the painting is unfinished. No, not unfinished. Strange. The scene is done, that of a forest of water flowing, but something else. One could only imagine the entitled water sprite. The creature that would have been painted is missing from the painting. No paint at all, just blank canvas beneath.
She's here. She's out. She did all this. We need to take the painting. Sure, fine, and present it. It's the object they wanted, but we need to get the sprite.
Mary has peeled the glove off her injured hand and quickly ties some of the dust sheet around it in a improvised bandage and pulls the glove back on.
Mm-hmm.
I would, hearing what Ava said and kind of seeing this, trying not to look at this painting, I would gather up the dust sheet that has fallen and throw it back over.
You throw it back over. There doesn't seem to be any. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, kind of not disturbing. At first, it's kind of like I don't understand what's going on here, but as your mind perhaps gestaltish sort of just fills in the blanks for you, yeah, you come to the conclusion that almost exactly the figure that was in there isn't there anymore. But there's no paint behind it. It's not just like a scenic landscape now. There is literally no paint where this figure would have been.
Is there canvas or is there?
There's canvas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's definitely canvas. Also, the shape of the figure is somewhat unusual. You, having had chance to see it before, Albrecht bravely casts the dust sheet over it. Kind of smallish, squattish, but also you sort of made out something growing from the head, horns, kind of either the size of a toddler, a horned toddler.
Okay. Well, I suppose we take this and leave before more logs get risky.
What's the size of the picture? Is it easily carried in
Oh
its
no,
frame?
no. I mean, it's easily carried. It's a good. I don't know. You can't see me, but it's that big.
That was about 2.5 feet.
Yeah, I mean it's not a massive masterpiece, but it's going to be awkward, carrying it around. It's not heavy, but certainly what would be considered bulky. One person could carry it with their arms more or less at full length.
Okay. Well, how about we take it out of here and leave it by the back door so that we know where it is, and then when we leave we can take it with us, because I think we probably need to, going on what the scary Diner Man said. And then we are free to look for the missing bit of the picture.
I agree.
Oh boy.
I sense a sort of fault in your reasoning. We need the picture to capture the thing that's in it.
And we take it with us.
But that's what I thought that Alberic meant. Leave it by the
Well,
back
no,
door.
I was proposing that we leave it by the door so that we know where it is when we go to leave. If we need it to put it back in the painting, then I suppose one of us will have to carry it. And
I propose taking it out of the frame so you can throw it like a net over whatever was in it.
An interesting idea.
how easily is it removable from frame?
And along the same lines, I'd like to just sort of pinch I can't really pinch, but touch the paint to see if it would, crack and be destroyed if it were rolled.
No, I mean these things are resistant, oil paints. I mean old masterpieces perhaps not so much. And in answer to you, Ulbrich, yeah, it's fairly easy to remove from the frame, and if you did roll it up, it'd be substantially more portable.
Well, I think that's what we do. There, because then we've got it to hand.
Before we do that, can I just hold up the lead detector to the frame and then specifically to the painting and
Oh,
see
it's
if
definitely the painting that's the
okay.
the
I just
issue
wanted to
here.
check.
Yeah, no, makes sense. How foolish would you feel having left the cursed frame behind? It is a possibility. Anything that is put within the frame, you know. But it's a good thing that you did sort of check that. Okay, so mystery upon mystery, things get stranger. You have half the painting. You are all right in the assumption, though, that this will not impress your Mr. Z in the slightest, and that only a complete painting will satisfy his need.
Mary quickly, it's probably like clamps or not clamps, like you have with a stapler, the cramps.
Yeah, the crimpers type thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So she quickly levers them out, the few that hold it to the frame.
Yep.
And then just takes the canvas, rolls it up, and gives it to a person who has both hands free. Yeah, you.
Well, you're carrying your doctor's bag, and you kind of like to carry it in both hands like this, don't you? But you're going to have to.
Nobly sacrifice my shield somewhat. to carry the thing. Worst case, maybe I could hit them with the rolled painting. That can only go well.
Okay. You're fairly, I mean, quite a find down here anyway. Half of the puzzle, perhaps the easier half to find. Is there any more things you would like to do within these cellars?
Alberic, you seem to have very good vision. I wonder, is this coffee can anywhere to be found?
I
I don't
will
see
look
it.
around for the coffee can, if I may.
Yeah,
Uh,
you sort of look
I will
around.
do a
Yeah,
survey roll,
yeah. Give
or
us
does it not need a roll?
give us a survey roll. This
Okay.
is this isn't critical. You'll be pleased to know. So, I mean, a success, but a success only is truly a success if there is something to find. And you find a couple of bizarre stuffed animals, the kind of cryptozoological type of things that are quite obviously different animals stitched together. You, with your scientific mind, realize that these are not strange monstrosities, but fakes. Still disturbing, though, especially as they seem to watch you.
This fellow had very interesting taste in hobbies. It looks like he was a taxidermist as well as a amateur artist. So fun. No, but no coffee.
Charming.
As we
Is there any? Sorry, go on.
as we move back from the wood cellar to the stairway, Mary will tell a short story about how on one of her expeditions they used a blanket to catch a frightened cat that got into the pyramid with them. And basically, that's one of my skills. Like, if I recall something from a previous adventure, everyone gets a drive nerve back.
Okay, so please, if you want, as sort of Mary impresses upon you, she has faced similar things before, and you've all got this. All you have to do is throw the half-painted painting over the thing that has spawned from the painting, and all will be okay.
That's it. There's no more to it than that. Trust me.
We head back up these treacherous stairs.
Yeah, I will lead.
Okay,
Thank you.
they creak again underneath your feet, almost whinging of their old age. But you all make it back up to the kitchen. The only, well, you can head down the hallway, or you can head into the dining room and leave through the door there, or you can head out of the kitchen through the door that you entered into the main hall once again.
I have a suggestion based on these coffee grounds. If we make sure that the door we came in is tidy again and consistent, and then we leave through the door to the dining room, which I believe opened the other direction.
Yeah, that led south again, or the hall next to it also. The hall that was next to the dining room, did we see where it went, or did it sort of curve round?
It follows the wall of the dining room down, but there's definitely a door in the eastern wall leading to another room
Opposite the dining room.
opposite the dining room, indeed.
Yeah,
I just think
okay.
that it would be a good idea to leave this kitchen as safe as it ever was.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, I will head over to the coffee grounds that were disturbed by our entrance, and do my best to nudge them and arrange them back in a
Yeah, you
solid line again.
smooth them across. Curious, really. Obviously, whoever did this thought it might work. Whether it works or not, who knows? Well, I mean, let's face it. At the moment, the success level within this household has not been good.
Up some more treacherous stairs then, eventually?
Yeah, I suggest we take the corridor alongside the dining room. We already checked the dining room. And go to the east.
Yes.
Okay, so you head down the corridor. You can see that there's a door in the eastern wall and there's a door in the southern wall as well. The eastern door is first, and the door isn't particularly sort of locked. It's an interior door of fairly good quality. You can't hear any noises coming from it, and as you sort of open it, you see that this is indeed a parlour. There are comfy chairs waiting for absent guests to arrive. It looks unused over the last number of days, and again there is just always this pervasive cold of a room that hasn't been heated in some time. It is quiet though. No sign of coffee grounds.
Whenever we go into a new room that might have paintings in it, I'd like to look at the paintings to see if our water sprite friend is hiding in the painting.
That sounds good. I mean, can they hide in paintings? Are you losing your mind? You look around here, and this is particularly devoid of any kind of real artwork. Sort of blank walls, wooden relief. It's clean, it's tidy, but it's, yeah, almost a parlour where people would come and just relax and have drinks. It's quite, what's the word? I think in modern terms, vanilla or perhaps beige. It doesn't really say anything to you. It doesn't really evoke the personality of the master of the house. It's almost like a blank canvas, palette cleanser maybe. Some degree of neutrality. It's non-offensive, muted tones.
I wonder if there's is there any sort of coffee table book or something that would be inscribed by Virginia? Like anything that would indicate that this is her sort of space?
No, this most definitely, you don't think anyway, would be her space. There's no clues to indicate that, and she supposedly was a housekeeper. Housekeepers don't necessarily have the luxury of their own chamber.
Yeah.
Mary has a quick look around to see if there's either a Virginia-shaped figure or a toddler with horn-shaped figure there. If neither of them are there, she will move everyone back out in the hallway and continue looking.
Okay. If you want to be bustled out, you are bustled out by Mary, as she attempts to say, well, what do you say, Mary?
Go on, we need to have a look at lots more rooms and we need to make it quick. It will be morning soon.
Yes, yes. You're probably right. Okay.
So you head down the corridor. The corridor turns west. There are two doors along this wall on the southern wall. On the northern wall is the door to the dining room. Sorry, Ulrich, was you going to say something?
No. I was, I would just kind of continue on and sort of follow on, nodding to myself, reminding myself to be quick, or that time is of the essence.
So the the first door in the southern wall, you kind of open it and sort of put it in, and this is filled with junk. Um, there are boxes and crates and the like. Um, Very much a sort of storeroom, but of items that might well be used at some point rather than the items that have sort of spilled down into the attic. Um, you give it a degree of notice, but it looks like it is perhaps the least occupied room that you've been into. There's a degree of dust in here, and it most definitely hasn't been used in, perhaps weeks or whatever, far beyond the length of time since the spoiling of the food began.
Is it as cold as the other rooms?
Yes, the house isn't supernaturally cold. It just has that feel of no fires have been on in, a
Yeah,
good
it's
number
cold
of days.
inside as it is outside at the moment.
Yeah, and it's cold outside because of the season. Then,
So I think seeing that, we'd probably move on quite quickly to the next.
yeah. I mean, I would sort of tell you now, but the next room is a smaller chamber, and um, this is the door to the south, and it is almost opposite the stairs going up. So you would have done a complete loop of the eastern wing. This room looks substantially more promising, though, as it is a small study, and you sort of peer in. It's cold. You see that there is a roll top desk, a number of books upon it. Um, you can obviously go in and investigate. It seems to be unoccupied, as it were.
Is it warmer here than in the rest of the rooms that we've been in so far?
No, there is no sign that it has been used over the uh, last few days.
I whispered to Albrick, I don't think anyone's been here recently, but you might want to check out those books to see if they have information on the painting.
Yes, and I kind of nod and head over towards kind of the desk and the books, and would like to have a bit of a rummage and an investigation of what's there.
Okay.
Can I
Please.
can I say, Alberic, could you keep your eyes open for any mention of a party?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I will have a look and kind of looking for a diary, like a calendar diary of events type situation, and just whatever's there. And I would suggest that's probably a survey or a focus. I would suggest, well, I prefer focus, but either would work.
Okay. Before
Yeah,
you,
inspect.
sorry, what was
If
that?
the desk doesn't explode, of course.
Before you do that, I mean, there's some things that are straightforwardly obvious. Um, there is some written notes, and the two books of interest that are on the desk. It's kind of strange, really, in the way that it's not something you were necessarily expecting, due to the fact that obviously he is a self-entitled poet and artist and would perhaps be expecting books of that kind of nature. But the first book is a book on anthropology, and the second book is a book on chemistry. Two diverse subjects, but have been um, absolutely cherry picked for this and have been opened a certain number of pages. To make sense of this, though, in a speedy fashion, that is, I would like some kind of roll.
Focus, analyze, I think.
Yeah, inspect and analyze would be, and also not remember, but try and log as much information in memory as well.
Mhm.
So I
Can
will.
can I try to aid in a way that may or may not be intended? My
Sorry,
my
I'm having the same thing as you saying. I want to stay still and move at the same time here. There is no aid. You can easily offer a dice in support to any role, provided you have it.
I
But
don't.
yeah,
But I'd like to use one of my abilities to maybe put ideas into Alberic's mind
oh, you want to mess with his mind? I love this. Yeah, please mess with his mind.
for what to be looking for. So again, if I have time to observe a location, so the
Yeah,
location in this case being the desk and
perfect.
the study, I would like to spend a cunning to ask what will take us most most what will guide us best towards finding this horrible thing that we're looking for.
Okay. Again, you have kind of the answers in front of you, which is these two well-thumbed books and the notes that are there, and you sort of focus on that. But I do like your special ability, and a thought crosses your mind as well. Um, Not only the information that's on the desk, but quite possibly information that has been perhaps discarded, and you kind of almost Sherlock Holmes-esque mind map the room, and you notice that there is a waste paper bin, and there is a singular screwed up piece of paper within the bin as well. Doesn't mean that it's going to give you answers, but it's going to give you more than just studying the books. Studying the
Cool.
books is still an important thing and doesn't override that. So
So I'll
first and
hand
foremost,
hand that to Alberic.
well, I mean, you can hand it to Elbrick, or you can open it up and read it yourself. You
Okay.
noticed it. Um, Elbrick, you sit down and start thumbing through the books. It's going to take a little time for that, so it's okay with you. So we do things sort of almost chronologically. Either you read the note, which is going to take less time than you studying the books. So the note quite simply reads, "To whom it may concern, I'm writing this statement as I now truly believe for the first time I laid on that wretched thing. I became death cursed. I, Lazarus Saxon, being of sound mind and body, no formality or legalizations. It is the thing that I must tell you about. What sanity? What is sanity when faced with this? It's kind of ramblings, but it continues. I know the signs. There can be no mistake. It is with me. It is the thing so clever, so terrible that, what's the point? I have put my muse back in her box. This time not as punishment, but to protect her. Whoever reads this knows or will know about it. But what you must also know is that it has a weakness so simple, and it tails off.
So I get very excited and I read this out to both Alberic and Mary. So it sounds like he lay down on top of the painting and was maybe possessed by the sprite and attacked Virginia and then locked her away. But now he doesn't have the sprite, or or the sprite is still in him. What do you think?
What if the sprite was the muse and he locked it in her box?
Didn't he refer to his housekeeper as his muse, though?
Yeah.
So
How long? She's not been here for very long. She was very young. What if she arrived at the same time as the painting? Or shortly after?
well, anything could be the case at this point. I don't know what to believe, but I'm thinking that muse must mean muse, which would be Virginia. But you know, we'll see.
Well, whatever inspired him for his art, which wasn't really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And this spirit would seem to be capable of a death curse, and that front room is nothing but a death curse. And those logs and the axe. My God, Mary.
Yeah, death curse. It's a very unlucky house. We need to be very, very careful.
Somebody's in a box to keep them safe.
Yeah, we know that one person was able to communicate with Synphonie.
That feels like that was
Virginia?
I mean, that's not a normal human trait, if you ask me.
no.
Telepathically communing with a weird.
But through this much bleed, I would say that's entirely possible. It could be the sprite, of course, impersonating Virginia so that we would try to come help it. But she did say something about it being so dark in there,
Yeah, so
as
she's
if
in
she
the
were in a
box.
box. Yeah, yeah.
But what if it's using the bleed to communicate instead of? I still
Well,
have the idea that the sprite and Virginia are the same at this time.
could be, could be. In any case, we need to find this box. Save
Yes.
Virginia, get the sprite back in the painting. Either way, we need to find the box.
Well, we checked the basement, so now we need to check the other rooms for a box.
Be careful going up those stairs.
I'm still looking at these, and then I have an idea of a simple solution or a simple weakness,
Excellent.
possibly.
Simple
It may
Please.
solution.
not be a thing, but
I would like you to give me that role, which was, what did we say? Was it a
it
focus?
was a focus roll, yeah.
Yeah, please. How many dice are you? Oh,
Just two, and it's gone horribly wrong.
okay. So
I'm gonna use the
the resistance.
uh yes.
Oh wait, there.
Yeah.
No, sorry, because you do have, that's an intuition, isn't it?
Also, if you fail, you get your drive back anyway.
Yeah, but I didn't use any because I don't have any.
mm,
It's only the drive that I use on the roll that I get back.
Yeah.
yeah. So you could. Have you got any resistance in there? I don't think you have you? I'm just trying to think. No, you do have. I think you've got 3 resistances. I can't read this very clearly. How many?
No, I think it's one per 3 drive, isn't it? So I've got, I think, 4 drive total. So I've got 1 resistance that I can
Yeah,
use.
perfect.
So
I'm
I
glad.
will
I'm glad you
use that.
worked. Yeah, I'm glad you worked that out.
Uh, so that's just a single dice I get to roll, or do I do the
Um,
whole roll again?
that
Just
is interesting. I'm not entirely sure. Let us just quickly look.
the
Because I
thing
know,
I did was just one,
yeah,
but I
Yeah.
might be wrong too.
I know you can't roll dice that were given to you by other people.
Yeah.
But we can easily look at the rules. So we do want to try and get this resistances. Resistances are a way of PC pushing back against the consequence. Anytime you don't like the roll, you may choose to spend a resistance from the drive. You have 1 resistance per 3 maximum drive. Very good, that is in the rules. This resistance does not go away if you spend your drive points. So after
Still good.
spending a resistance, you re-roll the number of dice equal to the rating of the action used for the previous roll.
So I get to do both again.
You do get to do this, but you may not include dice from any spent drive or assistance you initially received. So it's just the straight roll of what you rolled, which was 2 dice.
Was indeed. Let's go again and see if that makes any difference whatsoever.
It does.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah.
It turns that frown upside down. No,
Would have been better if it was the gilded one that landed the 6
wow, you want everything.
Can't win them all.
Okay,
I
so
nearly lost half my hand. Of course, I want some compensation.
things are escalating. Your ability to cope with the situation is diminishing, and the situation is escalating, and it is interesting to see. But you put your scholarly mind to these 2 books, and they are both scholarly books, and combined with the notes, the ramblings of this poet, you begin to put some things together. Firstly, the anthropology book. It covers many peoples, but one particular type of people, known as the Komi peoples. They are very much nomadic, but they have a belief in spirits, and there is a number of passages highlighted, particularly about one spirit in particular, something known as the Shi Shinga. The description is concerning, almost matching the missing creature upon the painting. A small toddler-like spirit, pale, naked, horned, but perhaps more concerning about this creature. Sorry, I'm just calling up my notes. Wasn't anticipating you making a good roll.
Thanks.
Have some faith.
A river, or rather swamp creature, kind of like a wood goblin, described as white nude. It's considered to harass the people by bringing misfortune. You notice a few other things as well, that there are messages or perhaps signs of Shishinga, smashed mirrors, coffee grounds, people having bad daydreams. Seems to believe that this creature truly exists. Maybe this is the entity from the painting. The other book, the chemistry book, particularly focusing on a chapter on a scientist by the name of Emil Fischer, a chemist, obviously within a chemistry book. But as you look down it, you realise he was one of the foremost scientists to discover the chemical formula for a substance known as caffeine. And with your 6 and your knowledge, you are aware that coffee fundamentally is caffeine.
This would be an attraction or an aversion to, would I
Looking at
conclude.
the book and balancing out, and with the 6, you think this thing, it's a way of warding it off. It is an aversion, maybe even a poison to it.
Okay.
So back to the kitchen and we'll get. I don't
Does
know.
my small laboratory equipment involve anything that would allow me to brew some coffee? Although there's an entire kitchen, I suppose.
Well, you have the chemical formula for the caffeine now, and you are indeed a scholar and a scientist with a chemistry lab. I mean, we are playing a game where there is a thing of great misfortune running around a haunted house. We're not playing a real world game where someone can say, well, of course you can't create uh, caffeine out of a sort of bag full of laboratory equipment. But that's not the game we're playing, so of course you can. You've found the information, you have the gear. We are dealing in a world of interesting times. So yes, if you wish to put your mind to it, you can
Oh,
brew a synthetic substance that is close enough.
I will definitely do so.
Okay, you suddenly,
Explaining everything I've discovered
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
to my companions as I'm going.
absolutely. Again, the problem is it burns through time, and time was a luxury you did have, but it's beginning to dissipate now. You've got enough time at the moment, but it is slowly but surely ticking away.
So, Alberic, do we drink this? Do we rub it on our hands? Do we?
Doesn't like it. I'm not sure how best to use it, and until we see it, I don't know if we're going to know. But uh, GM, would you allow that I've made enough for 3 vials so that we have one each?
Well, I would normally say yes, but this
If it's
is.
just the one, that's fine.
Well, no, I quite like it being harsher than that. And by harsher, I mean you've got 2, which means you'd have to leave only one person out.
Well, I'm holding painting and a bag, so I don't have a free hand anyway.
No,
And
you need to be protected if you're holding the painting. And Mary, you're already wounded. I have the bleed protector and I have body armor. So I think I should be the person without.
if you insist.
Wow. So
I'd like to rub some on my leather gloves, so if I should need to hold the creature down.
perfect. You smear it on your gloves, and I do love the self-sacrifice of Eva here. Okay, time has passed. The hunt perhaps now begins, as a certain Sherlock Holmes might have said. The game is truly afoot now. Maybe the prey has just become the hunter. Well, we will see. You leave this study, examining it at length and finding out some perhaps critical information. You still have the downstairs, perhaps another 3 rooms to investigate, or you can make your way up the stairs to the first floor.
If I use the bleed indicator towards the 3 remaining rooms and towards the upstairs, do I get different readings?
Not overly. Certainly, one of the problems you've got is Elbrick. Sorry, one of the problems you've got is the painting that Elbrick is carrying.
Yeah, it will drown out all the other bleed magic, I think.
The whole house has suffered. And bleed is a residue from powerful supernatural occurrences. It's not a thing in itself. Um, hence, blood everywhere. Um, It depends
How
whether you wish
about
to be methodical or whether you just wish to move.
I'd go on a dare this time and saying if he was referring to his muse and keeping her in a box, being the pervert that he is, it's probably in his bedroom.
Yep.
I would also say we could take a quick look, just open a door, see if there is a box big enough to hold a person, even a small person, and if not, just shoot on out. Take an extra 15 seconds per room,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Just do a literal look. No. And
Yeah.
then
Okay. There are
heading upstairs, but looking into the other rooms on the way, kind of vibe.
and Mary, I understand you. I think you're probably spot on. Either that or a turret.
so. The first door that you open is quite simply the cloakroom. I mean, it is a box, but it's not locked, and at first you think a dark figure lurks there, but you realise it is just simply a curious shadow cast by a large overcoat. It's a walk-in cloakroom, but not very deep at all. You give it a cursory glance, double checking that nothing is truly hiding there, and you are certain there is nothing there. The next two rooms are interesting. The one to the north is quite obviously a studio. There are easel paints, props for a life model, and a number of works in progress. There is also an easel here with a half-finished painting.
Do they
I
portray Virginia?
They all do. The current work is what could only be described as some kind of pornographic depiction of a milkmaid fornicating with a goat-like creatures. The face,
I would have grabbed. Sorry,
the
I would have
face.
grabbed Mary's hand before she actually looked at any of the paintings and said they're probably just Laszlo's horror shows, but let's be careful. Let's check. And does he sign his paintings in the bottom right like most artists
Yeah,
do?
oh, absolutely. He's proud of them.
Okay, so let's check the bottom right corners for signatures first. For
No,
Well,
the
the
creative.
only thing these paintings do to my mind is making me want to puke, but they're not. They're just bad paintings with bad subjects, basically.
I mean,
But
yes.
yeah, look at the signatures before you look at the whole painting, just in case.
We know he
Just in
only
case.
has the one, and we already have it.
But there's so much bleed in this house. What if he actually has a second one, or one by a student of this master's who's almost as bad? Or what if the spirit is lurking in another painting? The spirit could be in one of his paintings, and then the spirit could jump out at you. This is all just. I do not like this house. I do not like this house.
So, the one connecting feature through all of this, other than sort of the pornographic material, is the face of Virginia on all of the female counterparts. Most definitely not just a housekeeper, but a life model. The other connecting thing is that not only is it very distasteful, but they are very badly painted. He was no grand master or even a half decent artist.
That's the greater scandal, if you ask me. But
So that is in the upper room, and you don't spend a particularly large amount. You open the door and you sort of double check, and then the larger room of the two to the south is what would be considered the library. Um, you sort of open the door and you can see the library is extensive, water floor, books. There is quite a scattering of his own artwork, what would be considered erotic female characters, once again all resembling Virginia McFadden. As your eyes go across a number of the books, though, the titles seem to be erotic, perhaps sometimes grotesque, books on perhaps torture, the world equivalent of the Marquis of de Sade, theatre of the grotesque and the stuff like that. It seems that there is some of his poetry here as well, and if you thought his paintings were bad, his poetry is even worse.
Told you, pervert.
Feel like upstairs is going to be unpleasant, but probably the right place to go.
You believe that, well, this individual obviously has some kind of severe emotional imbalance. He, for good or bad, bears many marks or scars to the mind. But that is the downstairs explored. There is only, well, the only way is indeed up.
I grab hold of the runner at the bottom of the stairs and just rip it off completely.
Okay, you kind of do that. There is a popping and pinging of nails as they come out. Okay. I was wondering whether one of those nails might go askew and impale someone in one of their eyes. But it seems that you got lucky this time, or perhaps the entity is distracted for the moment. The stairs look relatively safe to continue upwards.
You
And
will
Laszlo's where
head
we
up.
left him.
No one has moved Laszlo.
And he's not strangely moved himself.
Can you remember how you left him?
Yes.
Seems
His
to
mouth
be,
was open, his tongue was sort of like that. He was still sort of tangled up in the tree, a little bit under the tree, although Alberic had pulled him out a bit.
yeah. That sounds very much like the scene that is still there.
Okay.
Okay. You begin to make your way up the stairs. It is at this point you hear a voice, crystal clear, coming from the back door. Wait. I must help you. It is the voice of Synphonie, as she has recovered from the vapours and has strengthened and fortified herself to help you in these last moments of your search. And I think that is where we will leave tonight's episode, stretching it out because of your investigations to a third part. Not wanting to rush this, there is upstairs an attic, a tower turret, as you have perhaps now know what you are searching for, and at least prepared as best as you can with coffee. Who would have thought? Yes, the hour is late and I don't want to extend it out or rush it, as I'm really enjoying the slow reveals. Thank you very much for playing, as always. I'm hoping very much that Liz can join us next session, hence that haunting voice. If she can't for any reason, it will be obviously the Shinga playing with your minds. But fingers crossed, all will be well and she will be with us in 2 weeks' time. So as always, before we go, I want to thank you all for playing. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed running it. I'm going to go around the table, ask you for your favourite moments, if there was indeed any, what you thought of the game, what you liked, what you didn't like. We'll start with that first. We'll start at the top with Jocelyn.
I loved rolling me a couple of ones.
It's
Always throw something new into the mix. And yeah, I mean, if things always go your way, it's just no fun.
it's interesting. The more that we delve into the system and sort of, I actually read the rules properly rather than skim reading them and thinking I understand them without understanding them. The more I'm loving it. It seems that when you fail, you get something for it. You might get a mark or a scar, but that is going to you know change the nature of your character, which is always an interesting development rather than kind of hindering it to a degree. So yeah, sort of failures are very interesting, because like in our, I think it was it our very first episode where you just
Rolled
were,
on D6s.
yeah, it was you were really successful, and that was fun to happen. But I think the favourite part, not being mean or malicious, is the failures and then seeing how they are going to play out, and that makes the system quite intriguing.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting some marks and scars. I mean, I've got one mark, but like, proper scars that
Yeah, yeah,
force you to alter your
yeah, yeah,
character's layout.
absolutely. And I don't, because like it would be fairly easy to go, okay, there's a complication, you get another mark, and sort of laying it heavily. But this is a campaign game, and I kind of want to do the slow burn, and have it over a period of time. But it felt like we were definitely getting there tonight with some of those things. It's also interesting as well because your resources now are beginning to deteriorate. The amount of drives that you've got to offer each other and the amount of drives that you can use yourself are coming to an end. And it's quite nicely timed in the fact that we're coming to the climax, and it's like, oh, we really kind of need those successes now, and we don't have the luxury of rolling all those dice. So I'm genuinely really enjoying the system, and the more I delve into it, the more I'm finding intriguing nuances that you don't necessarily get through just reading through it.
Yeah.
So totally agree with you. Matt, same question to you.
Yes, similar to everything that's been said so far. It was really interesting just kind of having those moments and the bad things and the complications and exploring what those can be, in the more traditional sense, but also in the more obscure ones, and the nice kind of threading in the bits of that feel like mythology and folklore that may or may not be, is all of that's really interesting, and it's this nice, because of the kind of the setting and the world and the era of, um, this kind of clash of, and the emergence of technology and science in a world where strange things are emerging from other planes of existence as well, is just, it's a really interesting place to explore, and makes you question everything, and everything seem creepier than it in some cases is, but in most cases not as anywhere near as creepy as it should be.
Yeah,
uh,
no,
yeah, it's good.
super. Natascha, same question to you.
Yeah, taking the marks was interesting, particularly with the end fight still coming. And if I remember the rules correctly, one more mark and I'm out of the rest of the scene.
Yes, that is the case. So, um, well, we'll see. I mean, at the moment, you've not really. You just
One more
all.
body mark, that is, because I've taken 2
Yeah,
marks
yeah,
in
yeah,
body.
yeah. But there's been no creature or monster. You've just been accident prone. Just things have happened. Nothing to worry about. It's not
Yeah,
like
just a
I've been
little death
accident
curse. What's a
prone.
little death curse among friends, eh?
absolutely. Can you outchase your own fate or destiny? That is a good question. And it's quite scary. I mean, I'm assuming it's quite scary as a player, being really at the whim of the GM. because I get to decide when something bad happens, and it doesn't seem to be a particular mechanic. There is a hidden mechanic which I will maybe reveal at the end of the thing. I'm not just randomly going, oh yes, this happens now. But all will be revealed, and you've had a hint of it. And yeah, you're beginning to uncover the unpleasant owner of the house, and well, how he has used his muse, and what is all this about her being put in a box. Hopefully you will discover this next session. So in the meantime, thank you very much, cast. Thank you very much for watching. If you've managed to get to the end of it, hopefully it's been useful to you in terms of a story, but also in terms of mechanics for this new game. Please leave some comments in the comment section below. I will link to the previous video as well if you're not seeing this. I think this is our third one now, so there's a previous one to that as well. And if you want to support us, please give us a like and a subscribe, because it really helps us out. But thank you very much for watching, and a good night. I need a catchphrase for this one. I've got one for Shadow Dark, but I think, remember, sleep safely. It's a good one. It's a work in progress, but for the moment, night all.
Right.